Why do 70% of Christian students abandon their faith within weeks of starting college? The answer isn't rebellion, it's unpreparedness. Churches and parents think they're equipping kids, but the evidence shows otherwise. Let's uncover the hidden crisis and how we can fix it before it's too late. Hey everybody. So, we want to talk today about why Christian students abandon faith within weeks, sometimes of getting into college. 70% of Christian teenagers abandon their faith after starting college. The statistic hits like cold water. Years of youth group, confirmation classes, mission trips gone in weeks. A pastor's daughter, in a well-known case, she was a valedictorian of her Christian school. She became an atheist before the October midterms. A youth group president stopped attending church by Thanksgiving break. The kid who memorized entire books of scripture declares Christianity intellectually bankrupt by Christmas. This exodus reveals something parents and churches refuse to acknowledge. The preparation they think works doesn't work. So for kids entering college, there's this perfect storm in the freshman year. College creates this storm for faith destruction. Students encounter their first atheist professor, maybe teaching a New Testament studies class, claiming gospel authorship is unknown and the Bible contains errors. And yes, when I went to a mainstream college and I took a New Testament studies class, the instructor actually said on the first day, I am not a Christian, I don't believe in God. But I happen to know Greek and cultural history very well, and that's why I'm qualified to teach this class. So, think about that. Okay? They face sophisticated arguments from people like Richard Dawkins, if you haven't heard of him. He was probably one of the most well-known of the new atheists. Sam Harris, who was also right along with Richard Dawkins, without ever learning to respond. Right? If your kids don't know how to respond to the pressure that they're going to get from the professors, how harder is it going to be for them to respond to peer pressure, right? Who confounding with newfound independence to create distance from parental religion, right? They're being told, well, step away from what your parents want, okay? They face the emotional stress of transition removes familiar support systems. Students drift from church involvement and spiritual practices. Most devastating of all, they accept doubt without investigation. Initial questions go unanswered and quickly compound into complete abandonment. The academic environment amplifies these pressures. Research that atheists comprise only 3% of the U.S. population, but they make up a vast majority of the professors and the teachers at elite universities like Harvard. More than half of the college professors hold unfavorable views toward evangelical students. This creates a hostile atmosphere where faith appears intellectually untenable. Students arrive intellectually unarmed for this battlefield. So, we have to prepare and not just have the illusion of preparedness. Most Christian parents believe their children are prepared. Their kids attend youth group, completed confirmation classes, went on mission trips. But I can tell you, most of these kids are not ready to take on atheists. Right? This preparation emphasizes emotion, experience, and tradition. It rarely addresses intellectual foundations. Youth programs focus on entertainment and social connection rather than developing robust Christian worldview and critical thinking skills. Students learn what to believe without understanding why Christianity is true. Traditional spiritual preparation operates defensively. Students receive teaching and participate in activities without learning to engage culture proactively. Programs avoid difficult questions rather than gradually exposing youth to skeptical arguments in safe environments. This leaves students blindsided by real-world intellectual challenges. Many youth ministries treat Christianity as disconnected beliefs rather than a coherent worldview explaining truth, morality, purpose, and culture. Being truly armed requires intentional intellectual discipleship, apologetics training, and proactive cultural engagement. Without these elements, students remain vulnerable to doubts that can quickly unravel their faith. So, let's talk about training, how people can become intellectually on the offensive here with their faith. Effective preparation shifts from defensive to offensive posture. Instead of hoping faith survives, parents and youth leaders empower it to thrive and influence. This begins with teaching the why of Christianity deeply. Students need apologetics resources that build strong foundations and evidence for God's existence, biblical reliability, and then historical case for Jesus. Critical thinking becomes essential. Students learn how to ask clarifying questions when encountering objections. What do you mean by that? And can you explain your reasoning? Right? They identify logical fallacies and inconsistencies in opposing worldviews. This transforms them from passive recipients to active thinkers. Proactive engagement means initiating conversations about faith and worldview rather than waiting to be challenged. Students learn to raise respectful objections to secular claims and see cultural engagement as opportunity to share truth. Gradual exposure builds resilience. Role-playing and debates in safe environments prepare students for real-world challenges. This controlled practice builds confidence before they face hostile academic settings. Resource accessibility matters. Books, apps, seminars, and online materials addressing common doubts become readily available. Ongoing learning and curiosity about apologetics and theology develop naturally. And just to take a brief pause there, I am going to be setting up a complete apologetics section in my coursework on my Bible teaching platform, where we will talk about logic, critical thinking, and go through several of the most important apologetics training courses, books on, so that you can be prepared and you can bring your children and make sure that they're prepared. Okay, so that's available on the Bible teaching platform. Faith modeling in everyday life demonstrates Christianity as practical, not merely theoretical. Students see consistent integrity and authentic engagement with culture. Faithful relationships and accountability provide crucial support. Mentors and peers committed to thoughtful faith engagement offer engagement, encouragement, and correction as students grow. But there's still a crisis with timing. Most parents assume they have until high school graduation to figure this out. This assumption proves fatal. Effective preparation must begin during middle school or early high school. Building strong apologetics foundations, worldview understanding, and critical thinking skills requires years, not months. In fact, in a Barna study, Barna does a lot of research studies. A lot of students who quickly lost their faith, supposedly when they entered college right away, had actually admitted that they lost their faith in high school because of high school teachers who were not Christians, and it just was reinforced when they got to college. So they were almost lost before they left for college anyways, okay? Research has shown that when kids start losing their faith, it actually begins much earlier than college. Secularization starts around age 14. More than 20% of teenagers say religion holds no importance to them. That number is changing with the Gen Z and going on. But keep in mind, this is still part of the process. College environments present sophisticated objections and cultural pressures that quickly overwhelm unprepared students. Early exposure to challenging questions and supportive environments develops resilience and thoughtful response abilities. Intellectual and spiritual maturity requires time. Last-minute efforts rarely produce lasting results. Late starters face significant consequences. Children may already be vulnerable to doubts and cultural influences that have taken root. Parents battle uphill trying to build foundations while students are immersed in challenging environments. Higher risk of faith drift or adoption of skeptical views without adequate defenses becomes inevitable. However, starting late doesn't mean hopeless. Immediate, focused apologetics training and worldview education can still make significant differences. Dynamic seminars, interactive learning, and intensive mentorship accelerate the process. Christian communities, accountability groups, and relational support provide crucial scaffolding during this urgent preparation phase. So, what does success actually look like? A well-prepared Christian students thrive in hostile academic environments. They demonstrate intellectual confidence, understanding apologetics, worldview, and evidential reasons for Christianity. This preparation enables calm, thoughtful engagement with skeptical arguments rather than overwhelming panic or immediate capitulation. They initiate conversations, ask clarifying questions, and raise respectful objections to secular claims. Their goal involves planting seeds and influencing culture rather than winning every debate. Logic, reason, and philosophical principles guide their responses. They use basic principles like the law of non-contradiction to expose flaws in relativistic claims. Arguments remain grounded in reason and consistency, maintaining credibility and composure under pressure. Truth anchors their identity, not popularity. They resist pressure to conform to secular norms for social acceptance. Commitment to truth provides confidence rather than peer approval. Challenges become growth opportunities rather than threats. Their faith matures and strengthens through intellectual and social testing. Faith integration occurs in everyday actions and relationships, demonstrating integrity and authenticity. This consistency builds trust and shows Christianity as practical, not merely theoretical. Faith relationships and accountability connections provide ongoing encouragement and support. Christian peers, mentors, and small groups resist isolation during difficult times. The transformation from threat to growth opportunity typically occurs through several key realizations. Students recognize their need for preparation after encountering unanswerable questions. They understand that doubt and challenge represent normal spiritual growth rather than failure or impending faith loss. This reframing helps them embrace challenges as opportunities to refine beliefs. Intellectual breakthroughs and spiritual renewal through engagement build confidence and resilience. Fear transforms into excitement for growth. The defensive mindset shifts to offensive engagement. Students see themselves as active participants in spiritual and intellectual battles, equipped to influence culture rather than merely protect themselves. So, there's a reality here that the research proves. Current data confirms the crisis extends beyond anecdotal evidence. Okay? We find that we can document that 66% of young adults reared in church walk away from faith during college years. That's still quite a bit. The Southern Baptist Convention reports losing 70 to 88% of their youth after freshman year. These numbers represent millions of young people abandoning beliefs their families spent decades maturing. The academic environment contributes significantly to this exodus. Religious skepticism among professors far exceeds general population rates, creating atmospheres where faith appears intellectually indefensible. Campus ideologies lean heavily towards secularism, relativism, and naturalism. These worldviews challenge core Christian beliefs about God, morality, and truth without students having adequate preparation to respond. Power imbalances in classrooms make defense difficult. Professors control discussion, grading, and academic standing. Students fear voicing dissent or defending their beliefs due to potential repercussions. Peer pressure and social isolation compound academic challenges. Campus culture pressures conformity to secular norms, isolating Christian students and making faith maintenance more difficult. So we have an urgent call to action here for all parents and young people. The evidence demands immediate response. Traditional youth ministry approaches approaches focusing on entertainment and emotion while avoiding intellectual challenges have failed catastrophically. Parents and churches must shift toward intentional intellectual discipleship, apologetics training, and proactive cultural engagement. This preparation cannot wait until high school graduation. Middle school represents the optimal starting point for serious apologetics education. Students need years to develop robust Christian worldviews and critical thinking skills before facing college challenges. Churches must integrate apologetics into youth programming, replacing entertainment-focused approaches with substance-driven education. Youth leaders need training in defending faith intellectually, not just emotionally. Parents require resources and guidance for intellectual discipleship at home. Family discussion should include challenging questions and cultural engagement rather than avoiding difficult topics. Christian communities must create safe environments for doubt and questioning. Students need practice responding to skeptical arguments before encountering them in hostile academic settings. The stakes couldn't be higher. 70% of Christian teenagers abandon their faith within months of starting college. This represents a generational catastrophe requiring immediate comprehensive response. The solution exists. Research-backed preparation combining intellectual training with relational support can equip students to thrive in challenging environments. The question remains whether parents and churches will act with this urgency this crisis demands. The next generation of Christian leaders hangs in the balance. Time is running out. The preparation that could save their faith must begin now. All right. So, thank you all for watching. If you have comments or questions, please leave it in the appropriate section on YouTube. I will answer all questions appropriately. All right. If you have a topic that you'd like me to cover, leave that as well. Let me know what you're looking for. We'll try to put it into the schedule as soon as possible. Also, I mentioned about the Bible's discipleship program. Look at the link will be in the description. Look into it. We've got lots of courses. For every YouTube video, there's a handout that goes into greater detail with study guide resources for you. We also have lots of very detailed courses in lots of different areas that we're building out, so there'll be lots of room for you to grow as well. Let me know what you're looking for. We're here to provide a complete platform and community for you. All right? And if you haven't done so, do please think about liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this with a friend. Appreciate your help. It does help the channel a great deal. Have a great day now.